Now, let's talk about summary and paraphrasing. I know you've heard me say I would mention summary about 2,000 times throughout your classes. And this is because these two skills are very, very important. What is paraphrase and what is summary? I'll give you some time to think. Okay, paraphrasing means saying the same thing but using different words. Again, paraphrasing means saying the same thing but using different words. For example, Marco is nervous about speaking Japanese. Original. A paraphrase will be Marco is apprehensive about communicating in Japanese. Did you see the difference? Speaking became communicating. Nervous became apprehensive. Or, I need to run an errand, but I will be back in a bit. Original. The paraphrase will be, I have a chore to do, but I will return soon. Errand, chore. I'll be back, I'll return in a bit soon. So paraphrasing basically means saying the same thing using different words. How does this apply to your reading test, or why are we talking about this today? For starters, please note that the words or the text you read in the passage will rarely be repeated in the question. So for example, let's say while you were reading the passage, it says, Marco is apprehensive about communicating in Japanese. In the question, the option where it falls under, your answer would be, Marco is nervous about speaking Japanese. So do not expect to find a word-to-word match between the passage and the question. Don't even waste your time looking for it. Actually, I always tell my students that the moment you find exact words in the passage and in the question, run away. But I'm going to rephrase that because sometimes my student says, oh, I did not choose it because I saw this word. Guys, it is not a rule. It's just that it doesn't happen a lot. In fact, in most cases, when you find a word-to-word match, it's actually a distraction. It's a trap that the examiners have set in place to really test your English language level. To know if you can understand that these two sentences do not mean the same thing, even though they use the exact words. So whenever you find exact words in the question, or in your options rather, and in the passage, please slow down and read the sentence again to be sure that they mean the same thing. If they don't mean the same thing, run away. That is not the answer. So throughout your reading, from reading part 1 to reading part 4, or even in your listening part 1 to part 6, you will find a lot of paraphrases. So again, whatever we're going to say here in this video applies to your listening when it comes to paraphrases. You will not find exact word in either your listening and audio and question or reading passage and the question. What about summary? Now, summary means to take a large piece of text and describing it using fewer words or lesser words. One of my students said, summary means cutting the long story short. I agree. It is actually cutting the long story short. So how does this apply to your reading? Many times, some questions requires you to summarize. Again, it brings us back to the 3 question types that we talked about in the previous class. Now, these 3 question types are general meaning, specific information, and inference. For you to be able to answer the general meaning question and inference questions, you really need to know how to summarize. For example, you have like 4 paragraphs in your reading part 1, and you have a question that says, why is she writing this email to the man? Or what is the main purpose of this email? For you to be able to answer that question, you have to know how to summarize, which is summarizing every single thing I have read. which option best answers this question? Keep in mind that all 4 options, of course, it's always 4 options, multiple choice in a drop-down menu. All 4 options will be mentioned in the article. But again, the goal is, are you able to merge every single thing, about 400 words that you have read, and look for which sentence best summarizes this information? So when you're summarizing, the rule of thumb is shorten or use fewer words, very few words, but make sure that the key points are standing out, which means you are not removing any single key information. Let's take a look at this paragraph, for example. Before we do that, I'll give you an example to illustrate how summary works. So I got back from work and my friend asked me, "How was your day at work today? You look sad." And then I said, "Well, I had a very bad day and it's a very long story." And then she says, "Cut the long story short." In essence, she's saying, summarize it. Just summarize it. Tell me what happened. And then I give my summary. Please listen very carefully, because at the end of this summary, I am going to ask you questions. Listen and tell me if there are information or details that are missing from my summary. Let's go. I go to work this morning and of course I started my job, and at 4 p.m. my boss came to my desk to get the day's job. And because I couldn't finish the task I would normally finish in one day, my boss got very mad. And because I was already having a terrible day, I reacted and we had an argument. Now I think I'm in serious trouble. Okay, I'll give you literally 1 minute to think. What is missing from my summary? Feel free to take it back and listen again. Yes, you are correct. You have 2 questions, or maybe more, but these are the questions my students usually ask in class when I give them this example. Question number 1, why could you not finish the task you would normally do in one day? That is missing. So my summary is not complete. Another question you're probably asking right now, because my students always ask this question, is, why were you having a bad day? So yes, I did summarize. I did cut a long story short, because what happened was a very long story. I cut it short, but my summary is not really complete. It doesn't help the person to understand anything because they have some questions. There are some loopholes. Your summary shouldn't do that. When you're summarizing, ask yourself, have I included all the necessary detail? Even though I'm going to use fewer words, are the key information, the main ideas, are they all a part of the summary I just gave? Now, listen again. I got to work this morning and I realized my phone was missing. I searched for it. I couldn't find it. I had to go back to the bus station. We looked everywhere for it. We couldn't find it. And by the time I got back to work, 2 hours was already gone. At 4 p.m., my boss came to my desk asking for the day's job. And because I couldn't finish the task I would normally finish in one day, she got very mad at me. And I was already having a bad day. So I reacted and we got into an argument. Now I think I'm in serious trouble. Did I just answer your questions? I guess. Now you know why I was having a bad day, right? I lost my phone. Now you also know why I couldn't finish my job that I was supposed to finish in one day. Because I spent 2 hours to and fro looking for my phone. Now, if you are the one listening to this story, probably may have some insignificant questions, but the main point, in order for you to understand why I had a bad day, is already all brought out. Again, ask yourself, every single time you are summarizing, have I included all the important information? I have a task for you guys. Choose a long article, because summary needs a lot of practice. You will need to practice in order for you to be good at summary. In our readathon program, I'm sure most of you already know what this readathon program is. It's an intensive reading program that is organized for students or test takers who have taken CELPIP and IELTS multiple times but still cannot pass the reading. So this readathon program is an intensive 20 days program that tackles all the challenges that could be making you not to get a high score on the reading. Of course, we cannot do all of that in class. That's why there is a special program for that. It tackles every single challenge. So back to what I was saying. Did you know that in the readathon program, we spend about 8 hours only on summary? Yes, 8 hours only on summary. Because my test takers' experience have shown that summary is also one very key reason why test takers are struggling with the reading. But many times you'd say, I read, but I don't know where to find the answers. I spend hours reading. If you learn how to summarize, you'll be good. So what I'm saying in essence is you have to practice summary. So an assignment for you would be choose long passages of text, do them one after the other. I mean, one passage per time. So you can choose a passage that has maybe 10 paragraphs. You can find these on IELTS free portal where you can use IELTS long materials. Don't use your real exam practice materials. Especially if you're taking CELPIP, don't use your CELPIP materials. You only got 22 of them. Don't waste them. So choose long passage of text, complex materials, and then try summarizing paragraphs by paragraphs. Read a paragraph, summarize it in one sentence. Do the same for the next paragraph. Summarize it in one sentence. Do the same for all paragraphs. At the end of the day, use those little snippets of paragraphs you summarize the entire article, and tell somebody in not a very long sentence, what is this article about? So back to our summary. This skill is actually very, very, very important. So I'm going to display a passage on the screen right now, and we'll skim the entire passage and summarize it. Let's do this. Now, I'm going to display a very, very short passage on the screen, and I want us to summarize it. Okay? I just want us to summarize it. Okay, perfect. First of all, there is this one. Tea and coffee are two of the world's most popular beverages, with tea being the most consumed by a narrow margin. Both beverages have many supposed health benefits, including a decreased risk of certain illnesses and heart conditions. This is due in part to the fact that both drinks contain caffeine, a chemical which has been the focus of numerous medical studies. I want you to say this in fewer words, or discuss this using fewer words. Now, what are the most important details in this passage? The first is tea and coffee are the world's most popular. So popular beverages is one very key information. And they have many supposed health benefits. They are popular, they have health benefits. Can you check what else is here that is very, very important? You're correct. Both drinks contain caffeine, the content of both drinks. So if I want to summarize this, I would make sure that the popular, the health benefits, and the content, which is caffeine, is brought out nicely in my summary. Now let's read a very shortened version. Tea and coffee are two of the most common drinks. Popular became common, remember paraphrasing? And they both contain caffeine, a drug which is claimed to have medicinal value. Those are the three most important parts of this short paragraph. They are popular, they have health benefits, and they both contain caffeine. Now, let's assume I start listing the health benefits. I say they have many health benefits like decreased risk of certain illnesses and heart conditions. It's no longer a summary. I'm already becoming too specific. I don't have to be specific. Remember, someone just said, what is this article about? Oh, it's about tea and coffee, which are the world's most popular beverages. And they have many health benefits and they both contain caffeine. Summary. But if the question now goes a little further and says, oh, really? Health benefits? What are the health benefits of tea and coffee? Now you start being specific. Oh, it says it included decreased risk of illnesses and heart condition. Now you're going into more detail. So that is summary. Summary is very, very, very important. So throughout your classes, I will do all I can to make sure that you're getting better at your summarizing skill. And in the CELPIP IELTS preparation group, our community for where we post CELPIP and IELTS preparation tips, there is usually daily tasks that helps you build your vocabulary. Most of these tasks are actually there to help you strengthen your summarizing skill. Don't take them for granted. Do them every single day. As we delve into your reading part 1 in our next class, you would come to appreciate how important summary is. And now, let's move on to reading part 1. In subsequent videos, we will cover reading part 1 tips, every strategy you need to succeed in the test, and how to answer the questions. We'll do the same for each reading part, one video at a time. So from reading part 1, we'll move on to 2, 3, and 4. Remember, reading part 3 and 4 are the most challenging reading part because the questions get difficult as it progresses. So stay tuned and be sure not to be absent for any class. Take your notes as you listen to the lectures. Take notes and make sure that you're practicing those skills and those strategies after each class. Because the more you practice it, the better you get at it. If you're watching this video as one of my students, great job. Thank you for watching this far. This means I would be seeing you in my class in the next coming days or maybe later today. But regardless, we're going to delve into each part of the reading, learning all the strategies and all the tips. Don't fret. Reading is tough. Reading is challenging. But that's why you have me. I'll hold your hands and walk you through to make sure that you don't have to take the test a second time. So stay tuned with me. And if you are watching this video because you just stumbled on it, it's still okay. We have 2 options for you. Option 1, you sign up for a live interactive classes that is held online 4 times every week for 4 to 5 weeks. In that class, we cover in detail every single aspect of CELPIP preparation, from the listening to the reading to the writing and the speaking. It's a one-time fee that covers every part of the test. We make sure that you are fully ready. Yes, signing up for a live interactive classes is my preferred option, and this is because it is live. You get real-time feedback. You get to practice in class. You get to answer the questions with every single student in the class. You get to struggle to find the answers. You get to ask questions. Why is my answer wrong? How did we come up with this answer? How did you do this? You ask the others. How were you able to think about this? We all brainstorm together. We all solve the little puzzles together. we all tackle every single challenge that maybe you or someone else may bring up in class. But if that option isn't viable for you, no worries. We also have the option of you purchasing the video courses like this one you're watching right now. In that video course, I try to the very best of my ability to make sure to explain in detail and try to bring the questions that my students ask in class, the suggestions they give, the concerns they have, and we'll put all of them together in the video to make it as productive and interactive for you as possible. So all you have to do is send us a DM now. Okay, my students, let's move on to reading part 1.